welcome to the Wimbiz podcast. Here we will be amplifying women's voices and sharing stories. Today's session is going to be focused on women in law, but let me just introduce myself first. My name is Tamila Akinse Johnson. I'm a lawyer, corporate governance consultant, company secretary. Let's not get too personal, but those are the things that I do. And today's session, we're going to be speaking to. I'm so giddy just thinking about it. Well, let me read her profile for you. Just give me a minute. This person is a newly minted senior advocate of Nigeria, one of the two females in Nigeria that got this position this year. Right? She is a partner at Africa Law Practice. She co-heads its commercial litigation and dispute practice, as well as its technology, media, and telecommunications practice. She is an ADR powerhouse. She started her career at Olaniwa Ajayi LP. Her career is peppered with many, many highlights, including being senior aide to Lagos State Governor Babatunde Raji Fashola, SAN as well, on the justice sector reform, and later as general counsel to the governor. There are many, many things on this list. She is an arbitrator. She's a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators. She has served on the executive committee of its Nigerian branch. She's an accredited mediator, a life member. It's a lot. A life member of African Women's Lawyers Association. And if, like me, you stalked her on Instagram, you see that she's really passionate about people, the MBA, and just lawyers' growth and education and innovation in the sector in general. Today with me, I have the delectable Mrs. Oyinkansola Badejo Okusanya, SAN. SAN.
Tamila, thank you very much.
It's very, very nice to have you. I'm giddy as I'm sitting. I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, but
I can see it. I can't just hear it, I can see it.
I'll try to be calm. I'll try to keep it.
It's fine, I like it.
All right, so the reason why we're here today is because we have the sonship position that you've just gotten. It's not something, it's very unusual, aside from what it stands for in the world in general, but especially in Nigeria. I was reading something and it said that as at 2024, the number of women that had attained that position was about 5% of maybe 720 or something. 720 people in that position in general, there were about 5% of them were women. So it has been, the system doesn't seem like it was made for women to even succeed, if that's the number that we have. And I was also reading, I was stalking your social media, I was reading a Dr. Oduwale's comments about your journey. She said you've been on this for quite a while. So how has it actually been like? What's quite a while is she talking about? How was it?
How was it?
Yes.
First of all, let's talk about those statistics. Mm-hmm. I think the statistics are a little bit more dire than that because there are, from 1975 to date, which is 50 years of senior advocates in Nigeria, about 900 and something people have been elevated to the rank. Okay. And of that number, we have only 42 females. I know because I'm the 41st, right? And my learned sister Silk is the 42nd. So just 42. So I think it's less than the 5%. So how was the journey? Well, quite a while would be about 6-7 years, right? Which, to be honest with you, is not that long in the scheme of things. So when I say 6-7 years, 6-7 years of actually designing a roadmap and following that roadmap. But of course, the desire to aspire has been there practically from day one. See, my story is an interesting one. 20 years ago, I was a baker. So I have come from the bakery to the inner bar in 20 years. And I was reminded about this a couple of weeks ago when I attended a function and I met a friend of mine who used to be one of my very good customers at the time. And he said to me, I really admire you because I still remember when you were baking cakes and here you are now. You're a senior advocate. And that didn't just happen. So it made me start thinking about that. Yes, it didn't just happen. What was the journey like? I decided that this was what I would like to do. And I went after it. I studied law as a second degree. And I was called in 2002 and started working in a one of the foremost firms in Nigeria in 2005, Olaniwa Ajayi. And from then, from the time I was called, I knew I wanted to be a barrister. I knew I wanted to be a trial lawyer, court-going lawyer. And I went into a firm where I could hone those skills. And then I had what you would call a detour. I went into government. So for the next 10 years, I was working in government, working in policy. That's where my the policy part of me came out, wanting to do things, wanting to affect people's lives. It was when I came back into practice in 2015 that I decided, look, I'm going to go back. This after working in government for 8 years. Decided, okay, I'm going to face it. So I started actively working towards it. You have to get on the cases. You have to follow the cases to a logical conclusion. There's practical tips. You have to make sure you sign the process. You have to understand what the process entails and then pursue it. And because Lagos, where I practice primarily, is a very busy jurisdiction, if you don't move outside Lagos, you will find that you don't make those cases within the time frame because you need to have 20 High Court cases, 6 Court of Appeal cases, 4 Supreme Court cases within a 10-year span. So I pursued that, armed with the information, the knowledge. I went looking for cases all over the country, anywhere I could find cases to argue.
So there were a lot of traveling up and down in this?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Traveling all over Nigeria. Sokoto, the East.
So they gave you a name, although it wasn't in part of that journey. They gave you a name. It was in Kano State. Halimasis.
My first name, incidentally, was given to me in Idemili, Adama. But that's a different story. So yes, I've been all over the place, and here we are today.
It definitely was worth it because you've gotten where you are. But did you like the journey? You know how people say the destination isn't actually the goal. The process sometimes is enjoying the process is also part of it. Did you enjoy the process of getting there? Because I'm thinking, if for instance now say I decide now that in a number of years I want to get there, but I don't want to feel like every day I'm sacrificing. How enjoyable was the journey to getting there?
Very nice question. You know, first of all, I think trial lawyers or barristers, I think we're a different breed entirely because if you don't love the law, if you don't love the practice of law, as in court-going law, it could be very frustrating. The length of time some cases take, the adjournment, sometimes you get to court, you spend half the night preparing, and you get to court, and for some reason or the other, the case doesn't go on. But I find that those of us that practice in that space, right, we don't see all those things as challenges. I certainly didn't. I don't. Every time I'm in court, I don't leave any court without learning something or the other.
That's a fantastic mindset to have, actually.
I think most barristers have that mindset. You know, so you don't see those delays, you don't see those challenges. And so, in the first place, taking silk is just the apex of a lifelong journey of doing what you love. Because you got to love it, otherwise all those things will floor you. So, did I enjoy it while I was doing it? Of course. I enjoyed getting up every day, going to court, reading briefs, you know, the excitement, the adrenaline of getting your arguments, making your arguments and having persuading the court, the adrenaline of thinking on your feet. Now, that does not mean that sometimes when I have to go to one place or the other, and that alarm clock goes at 4 a.m. because I have to rush to the airport and catch a 6:30 flight. It doesn't mean that I didn't say to myself, what am I doing here? Why? Or sometimes when I'm in a plane and we're going through bumpy weather and I'm thinking to myself, are we going to make it? Why do I want this thing again? You know, of course there are those moments, but at the end of the day, because you love being a barrister, the only way is up. And so, yes, I did enjoy it.
That's great. So I guess my other question is, on this journey to your sanship, because the system, I think I already mentioned this before, most systems in the world, because it started with men, no shade to men. Well, it started with men, the systems weren't exactly built to accommodate women. So were there issues in the journey the journey or the process that seemed like when you saw it, you're like, this thing, they didn't intend for a woman to do this thing. They did. What were the challenges, the burdens along the way that you faced in your journey to sonship that are gender specific?
Gender specific challenges, I would say, is just a general lack of a support system, right? That enables women who want to pursue this journey, enables them to do it with relative ease, the way that a man could. So let me give you an example. Say there is a Supreme Court case, and someone says, "Oh, I have this Supreme Court case, and if you want it, you can have it because I don't need it, or I can't go, whatever." It's more likely that a man will be able to pick up and go, "Oh, yes, I'll go to Abuja, I'll fly to Abuja. Tomorrow, the case is going to be argued tomorrow. I need to quickly file my application to change my name, change it to my name. I need to quickly file a fresh brief or whatever and rush into Abuja so can argue that." Many women, particularly in their either childbearing or child rearing phase, are unable to just up and go. So what you find is that many females who have attained silk did so as a result of great determination, right? Some of them had to take time off practice when they were raising their children, having their children, raising them, and then come back in and pursue this journey. Others have had to do it at great cost to their family and personal lives.
Sacrifices.
I'm not sure anyone has done it without the great support of an extremely supportive husband. I certainly had one, and a number of my colleagues that I've spoken with have the same story. But truth to be told, it is that system that enables, and it's not a profession specific thing, right? It's just not wired to enable women to up and go, because domestic responsibilities, if you like, are in quote disproportionately heavy on women. Yes. We have those.
Hopefully it will be changing soon, and it does seem like it's going properly.
It does. It does seem like that, but I was just going to add a caveat. If you have a supportive spouse, then those sort of things don't actually come into play. But it's a work in progress. Most women find that the journey is marred by the responsibilities they have. So unfortunately, you say, I would have loved to go and argue that case, but I have to pass. I have a PTA meeting. I have school runs. I don't have enough time to sort things out. It's not the same for a man. Like I tell my husband all the time, you just treat my house like a hotel. Just come, eat, bath, dress. Everything you need is sorted out for you. Reminds me of a story. When I was studying law, I had a reading partner, a friend of mine was a guy. And we were both living in Ikeja, but we would go during exams, we would go to school to study. And he always got there before me. We would agree to meet at a particular time and he'd always get there before me. So one day he says, "You are always late." I said, "It's not your fault. It's not your fault. You got home yesterday, walked in, your food was waiting for you." I said, "I have to make sure, because I'm going to be out all day and my husband is going to get home before me.
You did work before.
I have to make sure that thing you're enjoying, he too can enjoy it when he gets home." Say, "Hey, I didn't really think about it." I said, "And I've been to your house. The day we came to your house, me, him, and his wife, we walked in together. She took off her shoes at the dining table and went straight into the kitchen. He and I were gisting in the living room. That's where we gisted until the food met us there." I said, "You didn't lift a finger, so don't tell me about coming late anymore." But yeah, those are the challenges. Now, many people who take time off because they just can't cope with the rigors of practice and raising children, many don't come back into practice. Only the most dogged, right? In my own case, I was very fortunate. I have a son, and in my child rearing years, I was working in government. So I was living in Ikeja, working in Alausa. It was a demanding job, but I did have an opportunity to take him to school every morning, to be there. More than if I had been working on the island, and somebody else would have had to pick him up from school, take him home, and so on and so forth. By the time I came back into practice and started this journey, he was already off in boarding school. So I've been very blessed with the way the lines have fallen in pleasant places, because I've been able to do this journey when he was an adult out of school. He's went off to secondary school and then went to university. I've been able to do this journey. And then, like I said, a very supportive husband who doesn't insist that his wife must cook all his meals fresh, fresh, fresh.
I've seen videos like that. Like insist that the food must be same day food.
And cooked by your wife. Not that I have any problem with that, but it's really difficult.
Not this is not practical. So from what you said now, it seems like the supportive system is not even just in the family setting. It has to be the law firm. I feel like it has to be the law firm you're in as well. The systems around you. Because if you want to go for not even just the soundship position, if a woman is supposed to succeed in the place that she is in, there have to be systems in place to allow her to succeed. Don't expect that the same thing that a guy will do, that she will be doing at the same time. Don't expect that the 4 or 5 hours that she needs to take care of her child or whatever, that she should be doing work at that time. There are systems that we need to have in place to support women to succeed.
And many firms do.
Yes.
Many are still work in progress. Many still need to get there. But I think that we have a lot of women in practice. They are mostly solicitors, right? Which means that they do corporate commercial law. But we do have a lot of women in practice, and we do have a lot of female barristers. And there are quite a number of firms, and increasingly so, that create an enabling environment for them to try. So if you take my firm, for example, and let me give a shout out to my firm, we have all sorts of things in place to make sure that our female colleagues, even at the early stages of their career, can balance both, because we don't want to lose them. Our human resources are our greatest asset. So we encourage them to bring their children to work when they're babies. We have a creche. We ensure that they have as much time as they need, ad hoc. If you have to go to a PTA meeting, you have to go to a PTA meeting. If you have to go to school before you come to work, you have to do that. You understand? If you need time off, if you have to work from home, work from home. We're blessed with responsible people, and that's the key, really. If you're responsible about your attitude to your work, right, and your office is an equal opportunity one, you'll find out that concessions will be made for you. When you have to go on maternity leave, for example, in my firm, you go on maternity leave. If it's not sufficient, if you need more time, go. And I don't do that in my own department. I don't do that just with my female colleagues. One of my male colleagues, his wife recently had a baby. And he said he's applied for his leave, he's going to take leave. And I said to him, look, even before you go on leave, if you need to work from home, if you're not in court and you need to work from home, work from home. Life is a lot easier now. You do it on a laptop, send it in. You understand what I said? Because your wife will need you. And you need to help out with the baby. So whatever you can do from home, don't leave her at home alone to do it. Go and do it. So, and there are a lot of, I know that there are a number of firms that have those kinds of things in place and are much more flexible. And so, yes, you are right. Those systems need to be in place, and more firms, in my experience, are leaning in that direction. Now, of course, you do have those firms that will not employ a female, or when they employ females, they don't let them take responsibility for the more complex cases. But I think that is not only changing, it will begin to change even more rapidly. Because I think many people are beginning to find that female lawyers are just as competent, and in many cases, more competent than male. But I never like to make it about this one is better than the other. As far as I'm concerned, we just need to get to the point where gender ceases to be an issue. Everybody's just seen based on what you are able to do. It doesn't matter whether you're female or male. I certainly try to treat my colleagues like that. Because, sometimes you have these subconscious biases that you think you are doing your female colleagues a favor. So if you have a case, if we're allocating cases, for example, we have a case in Jos. no, don't send this person because you know she just got married. She won't be able to. It's not fair. First of all, she's competent to do the job. Secondly, find out from her whether she's able, because the experience is also good. And especially if you're aiming towards something like taking silk, you need all the varied experience, all the courtroom experience that you can get. So those kinds of biases, we try to do away with them so that everybody gets a fair shake at the yes.
Part of the things you're mentioning is, I guess I want to ask, aside from your husband and the supportive system in house, were there any instances where having male support was helpful in your journey? Because I'm trying to balance as well. Definitely, I'm all for women and everything, but men are great too. So I'm trying to find a way for men in that.
You know, I try to.
Or was it the opposite?
I tried to.
Were there men that were like, this cannot happen for you?
No, not at all. And that's why I try to run away from this question. The truth is that men were much more supportive to me on this journey than women. It doesn't mean I didn't have any female champions that were really supportive, that not just asked me how things were going, actively helped me out, wanted to know, gave me cases to argue. Because, you know, on this journey, you can't rely only on the cases that you have in the firm, and you must do pro bono cases. So some people, pro bono, by pro bono, I mean, you know, render free legal services. So I had people who actually called me up and said, do you need a case? I have a case. Are you ready to?
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I had that. And I had it from both male colleagues and female colleagues, but unfortunately, far more from male colleagues than female. So I think that there's a lot of work we can do in that regard. And I'm excited about the Women in Law series because getting together a whole bunch of people to mentor who have learned in this cohort and seeing that they're forming bond, a community where they help one another, can only help to establish those kinds of values where women increasingly support women in tangible ways like that. You know, so it's not that women are not supportive, but in expressing it tangibly. My experience is that I had more men that said, I have a case. Would you like it? And so I have decided that I must lead visibly by example. Visibly by example, tangibly. You know, I've put together a group of people, and anybody I hear is on the journey to take silk, I invite them to join the WhatsApp group so that we can share all these tips, the journey, so that we can actually actively support one another. Because those figures are actually abysmal, and it's not because we don't have competent women that can be senior advocates of Nigeria. It's because sometimes it's just them needing someone to push them. I have a female colleague, and she was like, Mrs. B, yeah, you're almost there. I said, yes, and you need to be almost there as well. I said, but they say you're going to Sokoto to argue. Me, I can't go to Sokoto. I said, of course you can go to Sokoto. Why can't you go to Sokoto? And her senior in the office joined in our conversation and said, you know, but I've told you, you need to do these things. You just have to change that mindset. But some people just need more encouragement. Some people just need to know that, look, it's doable. I've done it. I'm doing it. You can do it and just, okay, what do you need to do? Okay, when I'm going, let's go or whatever, you know? So, yes, that's my experience.
So, I've heard of this and they're all really nice, but I want some personal stories. You've been mentioning you went to Sokoto, you went to Kano, and no shade to those places. Me, just within traveling, even within Lagos, it's a bit of a jungle. Those journeys, were they as smooth as? Were they smooth, or did you have some things happen in them?
Okay, so so first of all, I have quite an adventurous spirit.
Oh, I love that.
Yes, and secondly, one of the things on my bucket list is to visit as many parts of Nigeria as I can. So going to do cases in all sorts of places afforded me the opportunity to do that. So I remember somebody once offered me 7 files in Zamfara State, Gusau.
Okay.
And the road from Sokoto to Gusau is one that is notorious for banditry, right? Because lots of kidnapping activity around there, so insecurity. And one agreement that I had with my husband was, you can go anywhere you like as long as there's an airport there. Anywhere you have to land and then travel, no way. So the problem was now how to tell him someone has offered me 7 cases. You know how fast that would be, get me where I'm going. So I thought about it. I heard about somebody else who was going to do cases in Gusau. I asked him. He said, I'll send you a video. He sent me a video of him on the road, very lonely. For hours, lonely. I said, but you did it now. He said, but every time I went, it was with prayers and everything. I summoned up the courage. I told my husband, I was like, I don't know about this Gusau. Okay, why don't you ask people around there? Even people in Sokoto said, I don't know about that. So do you have to, Sokoto is, if my geography is right, you go that way, you go to Kebbi. You go that way, you go to Zamfara. Right? Those 3 states are kind of like that. So they said, no. In fact, if you want cases, we'll get you cases in Kebbi. It's easier to go from Sokoto to Kebbi. But at the end of the day, I gave them up because nobody was ready to. But I did break the rule when I got 3 cases to argue in the Court of Appeal at Ado-Ekiti. Okay. And there's no airport in Ado-Ekiti. You have to fly to Akure and then drive. So I had these 3 cases. But that day, I was supposed to be coming back to Lagos because I had another matter in Lagos that I had to do. And I had to get to court, adopt those briefs, head back to Akure and catch the flight. And that was the only flight going back to Lagos that day. If I missed that flight, I'd probably have to come back to Lagos by road. So as soon as first of all, I was just praying, let the court sit in time. The court sat in time. First one. Let's get these things. There were a bit of skirmishes, delays here and there. Don't forget, I had 3 appeals, but it was too good an opportunity to miss 3 courts of appeal briefs at the same time, on the same day. As I finished, I think I must have finished round about 11 or so to 12, and the flight was like 1. And I can't remember now how long the journey was. Anyway, got into the car. All my stuff was in the car. I got into the car. I started heading back to Akure. That was one of the scariest journeys of my life because we were flying on a face me, I face you road. And I was torn between, hey, please slow down now. It's okay. It's not that deep. And I have to get to this airport on time. And I was phoning. I had someone at the airport. I was phoning. Do you know, we made it. At one point in time, the car just went bam into one ditch. I thought we had lost the tire. We didn't. Because the driver too was feeling, well, we have to get there. When we got into Akure town, there was traffic here and there. But finally, we made it. I made it. I was practically the last person to board the flight. Later, I was thinking to myself,
you held up a plane.
Well, I didn't hold it up. They wouldn't have waited for me. But I just made it just in the nick of time. And somebody had collected my boarding pass. And I didn't have luggage to check in. I just had my hand luggage. But when I thought about it later, I was like, that was we had so many near misses. You go on a bend and you see a trailer coming and, it was like, God was just with you. And I was just thinking to myself, if anything had happened, what would I have said? It's just because of kids. You know what I mean? So yeah, that was really scary. Another time, I didn't leave somewhere it was early enough. Yeah. And I found myself on the road late at night. Because I had to get to the next town I was going in time to argue my case the next morning. There were all those stories. I remember one time I flew to Port Harcourt. Yes. And We couldn't land because the weather was bad. And we were circling and circling and circling. And I thought to myself, what's going to happen? What am I doing here? Why is this happening? The whole plane was quiet. And what made it worse was the pilot didn't say anything at first. So, you kind of have an idea of when you're supposed to land. You kind of see that you're going in to land. And then the next thing, you're picking up height again. And the pilot didn't say anything. So I called the air hostess. What's going on? She said, well, there's bad weather. So we kind of said, what kind of bad weather? Are we going to be able to land? Is there any problem? She said, no, there's no problem. I said, so tell the pilot to tell us now. She should put our minds at rest. So those times I asked myself, what am I doing? But how it is when everything comes together, you forget all those challenges, all those adventures. Now you have
stories under your belt.
Now I have stories.
You have the adventurous life you're looking for.
Well, maybe a little bit more adventurous than I would like, but yeah. Yes.
Okay, let me roll it back to why we're here.
I thought it was for the adventurous stories.
I am always for adventurous stories, actually. But I wanted to know, you're now in this position. We already established that the statistics are not great. What systems are you going to put in place, or what do you intend to do to make it easier for this agenda to be able to enter into these positions? What systems are you creating to ease the way for others who are coming after you?
Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to talk about that, because I said earlier that I would really like many more women, right, to be able to aspire to this and attain it, and do it, during their productive years too, so that it doesn't just become a feather in your cap in your later years. It becomes something that you use and contribute meaningfully to the profession. And so some of the gaps, like I said, that we've seen is that lack of the support system, and even helping people to navigate their own responsibilities outside of the office environment. Those things that make some people decide, what, this thing is too hard and I don't want to practice law anymore. As much as I love the law, I don't want to practice law anymore. Or they've gone to have a baby and I really intend to come back into practice, but it's too hard. There's a group that a colleague of mine set up some time back called Female Lawyers in Litigation. And she set it up specifically for people who had left practice and coming back into practice, and they just need little tips, because the law practice is exactly that. It's practice that makes perfect. So if a simple thing like the rules have changed since you were back in practice, it takes learning all over again. Even going away for some time, you forget a lot of the things that you know. So she set up this Female Lawyers in Litigation group, and I came across it and I said, look, I would like to be a member, because I also left practice, went into government, right? And then came back into practice. And I'd like other people to share in that journey and to understand that it's doable, but you have to be intentional. I like that word. I use it a lot because for me, it encapsulates everything that you have to do and be if you want to succeed. You have to be intentional because those challenges are going to come. So Female Lawyers in Litigation is a wonderful WhatsApp group set up by some wonderful female lawyers practicing in Lagos. And the membership has grown across Nigeria. And what do we do on Female Lawyers in Litigation? We share tips, we share ideas. People say, please, I need a template for drafting an affidavit or a petition and all that. And people drop things there. Oh, how do I do this? How do I do that? And people drop there. Now, it gave me the idea to set up a similar WhatsApp group for women who are aspiring to silk. And I called it the Sisterhood. It's just in its nascent years. Because on my journey, I have a group with male and female colleagues called Fellow Travelers, right? So we were all already on the journey, and it's made up of male and female. I set it up, and we used to share ideas and share tips, and we've been dropping off dropping off as we take silk, dropping off. So this year, two of us in that group, yes, took silk. But then what I did was I added more members, male and female. But I now decided to set up another one specifically geared towards female. And it's little things like, first of all, okay, this is what I want to do. First of all, you need to arm yourself with the rules, the rules for applying for the rank, and make sure that you have a process in place. So you know you have to have so number of cases. Do an audit of where you are, what your needs gap is. Then also, you know, you need to be a partner in a law firm, or you need to own your own firm. If you're a partner, that partnership deed must be 5 years old. It must have been executed 5 years before you apply. Many people don't know these things. Some people have had to drop by or wait because they don't have some of those things in place, right? And you'll be amazed at how you want to do this, but you don't have all the information. So it's important to have that kind of support system. And then, you know, going after the cases, doing pro bono work, becoming active in the profession. Because one of the requirements of the rank, if you become a senior in the legal profession in Nigeria, you must show that you have contributed meaningfully to the profession by joining committees and contributing your quota, by talking at events, by publishing articles, you know, and just contributing one way or another. So there's all of that. So I've set up the sisterhood, which is growing and will grow. Taking a few names to add to that. So what we'll do is just share tips and share ideas and invite people who are taking silk, females who taking silk, to share their stories.
The sisterhood, did you call it?
The sisterhood.
The sisterhood.
The sisterhood. Because Leonard...
Is it a free for all? Is it open to all?
Open to all who are already on the journey.
Okay.
Either just at the beginning of starting to do or aspiring to take silk. So it's a niche. Female lawyers in litigation is open to it. I didn't set that up. I'm a member of that, right? And that was what, like I said, that's what gave me the inspiration for this, because it's a wonderful thing that my colleagues put together, and it has been incredibly useful. Every member of that group loves it because it's a real resource base. So that's what gave me the idea to do something similar, specifically for women who want to take silk, because we need more of us there.
I'm asking because is there a capacity? Is there a number? Is there a social media page for people? Is there a vetting process for it actually?
No. This is a very informal, formal arrangement, right? Like I said, the membership of that group, for instance, will never be more than 10 or 20 people, right? Because, like I said, it's for people who are already on the journey or about to become. Do you understand? So we're sharing specific resources and ideas and experiences about the journey. You understand?
Yes.
So, like I said, my colleagues, I have colleagues who have set up female lawyers in litigation, which is open to anybody and everybody who would like to, who is in litigation and wants to just have a resource base. You know, I mean, let me not even say that it's open to just 10 or 20 people, because you never know. The hope and desire, I guess, is for many more people to apply to take silk. But it will only be open to people who are aspiring to take silk and are actually on the journey. It will only be meaningful to people like that.
Understood. So, because we have to, honestly, we have to be running up, but do we really? Anyway, so imagine I'm fresh out of, not fresh out of law school, some 1 or 2 years of experience at law firm. I want to take this journey that you have ended now. What advice would you give me in terms of process, what to do, in terms of the character traits I should have, what I should know ahead of time that this thing is going to be difficult, so just prepare?
First things first, right? You've decided that this is the path you want to tread to become a barrister. You need to make sure that you see the courtroom as a classroom. I was talking to a young colleague of mine earlier on today, and she was telling me that she makes sure that every time she's in court, she never leaves when her matter is over, right? She makes sure that she stays back and listens to at least one case, particularly if there's senior lawyers in court. And invariably, if you're a young lawyer, if you're not being led, once you get to court, there will be many cases before yours. There will be senior advocates in court. They'll call their cases before you. These days, I find that far too many people are either on their phones or just not paying attention. And they're losing a valuable resource because the courtroom is a classroom and you can learn a lot from a lot of things that you won't find in any textbook. So that would be my first prescription. See the courtroom as a classroom so that you can learn and keep learning. Read law reports. You must read law reports. Law reports help you to understand how arguments are formed, how judges think, how decisions are made, And then, of course, it builds your own confidence because you learn precedents. And that's what law practice is all about. So when you're faced with a situation, you know that this has been decided, or this is what was decided, And back in the day, senior lawyers had what they call a black book. You hardly find a senior lawyer that doesn't have a version of the black book. I'm sure some people's versions are now electronic, but that black book is where you note down things. I remember one case. Yes. There's an authority for that. Blah blah blah. Yeah. Pay attention to your persona, your courtroom decorum. Be respectful to judges, to colleagues, to court staff. People pay attention to those things, right? So you need to develop that. Your reputation is your currency. You need to pay attention to it. Be known for that diligent lawyer, even at a young age, that is always prepared, always well-spoken, always diligent. I remember one day I was at the Supreme Court, and there was a young lady who came to argue an appeal. And when she was adopting her brief, I can't remember what it was that made the justice presiding ask her, "A young lady, how many years are you at the bar?" She said, 7 years, my lord. And you are so well comported. You obviously know your case so well. And they asked, "How many times did you read this file?" And she giggled nervously and said, "My lord, like 5 times." The whole court burst into laughter. And then he said, "My lord beside me is very impressed with you. And I must tell you that for this one, I'm going to keep my lord's name secret. For this particular justice to be impressed with you, you know you're on the right track. So keep it up." Why was it impressive? Many people don't do that. And it's important. She was well prepared. She obviously knew what she was doing. She had imbibed all those character traits. She studied her file. She spoke well. She was well comported. It's important. Try and learn under people who have skills that you admire. Being a barrister is all about oral advocacy. You must be able to be persuasive in your arguments in court. And in order to do that, you have to know. You have to know your onions. So by studying, you know. And then when you know your onions, you make sure that you hone your advocacy skills. Some judges can be quite impatient. You need to make sure that you are able to arrest their attention and put your points across. What else would I advise? Just be focused and intentional. I told you I like that word.
Yes.
Intentional. You should also be bold. Another person I was talking to. Yes, be bold. Be bold. I like that too. Be bold. Someone I was talking to, she said to me, "Oh, I love this justice. When I saw him last at the opening of the legal year, I went up to him and I knelt down and said thank you. And he was really embarrassed. He said, why are you kneeling down? I said, my Lord, I just want to thank you. And he said, really? What did I do? He said, my Lord, you trained me. Said, how did I train you? He said, I was that young lawyer that came to your court, your lordship's court, with my principal. He said, who was your principal? He said, she mentioned her principal. Said, oh, I remember you. What had happened? She arrived in court before her principal. She arrived in court as usual, just expecting to take notes and hand her principal whatever he needed. Unfortunately, she got to court before her principal and the case was called. And she confidently got up and said, my Lord, my principal is on his way. He's just running late. And I said, young lady, you have been called to the Nigerian bar, which means you have been found to be a fit and proper person to handle a client's brief. You have the file with you, do you not? Yes, my Lord. I will give you 2 hours. You will go and study the file and you will come back and you will move the motion and you will adumbrate. Adumbrate means after you've moved your motion, which is make your application known to the court, then you just highlight a few of the arguments why the court should grant your application. I'm going to give you 2 hours. She says, yes, my Lord. And she says, she started flipping through the file. As she was flipping through, she wasn't even seeing anything. Why would this? She was barely 3 years at the bar. She said, in the firm she was working, the principal did not encourage young lawyers to go to court on their own. You just come to court. When it gets your turn, you will learn all of that. So she didn't have a lot of experience doing that. Then her principal came and she heaved a sigh of relief. And okay, I've been let off the hook. And the principal, senior advocate, stood up, my Lord, learned senior advocate, let your junior grow. I have told her to study the file and she will move this application and she will adumbrate. Senior advocate had to sit down. But you know she did. She read the file. She already knew. She helped to prepare the process. She just didn't know she knew. She moved the motion and she made some adumbrations. You know what happened? When she finished, the whole courtroom clapped for her. So you see, you need to be bold, right? If she wasn't bold, in spite of the fact that the court had insisted, she would have still melted in her. She wouldn't have done it. She did it. She did, and she did it well. So it wasn't that she just did it and they were helping her along. No. When she realized she had no way out, she decided, okay, I'm going to do this. And she did it, and she did it well. They clapped for her, not because she managed it, they clapped for her because apparently she even did it with some flair. Yeah. She had found her mojo. I love that. So, yeah, those are the things that will stand anyone in good stead. Will certainly set you apart, set you on the path. And by the time you embark on the journey, you're already well grounded and well prepared. So let me tell you my story. I like to call it from the bakery to the inner bar because, like I said to you earlier, I was reminded. I think that should be like the title of a book. Right? Yes, actually. Okay. You're challenging me now. From the bakery to the inner bar. Okay. I'll think about it. So, 20 years ago, I was a baker. So I studied English as my first degree. And the plan was to go back to school immediately to study law. How did I get to study English in the first place? I wanted to study law. But I didn't make the cutoff point for law. And Unilag was just starting prelim in the arts. So my father, my late father, who always wanted us to have first degrees before going on to do professional degrees, I don't think you should wait. Just go into university, go and study English. When you finish, you study law. I wanted to go and do A levels and then try again the following year. I said, no, going to. So I studied English. And immediately I finished my English degree. I applied for law. Unfortunately, I didn't get to be admitted because the government policy changed at the time. At the time, education was free, right? Tertiary education was free. We were only paying a token. And so the government decided that government could no longer afford to subsidize 2 first degrees. So if you already have a first degree, go on and study a master's or a PhD. Let other people who need first degrees study. So if you want to study another first degree, after studying a first degree, go and pay for it. Or go and study evening law. And evening law had an age limit. You couldn't go into evening law immediately after you left school. And we didn't have lots of private universities at the time. So I was really crushed at first, but I started working and I was earning money. And I decided I don't want to go back to school to study law. But I thank God for my mother. I wouldn't have been a lawyer today if not for my mother. Because I think she saw things in me that I didn't even see in myself. And she insisted that I was studying law. As soon as the opportunity came for me to register for evening law, she took the forms and I was really grumbling. But but I went into evening law. And I found my calling in life really because I've loved law from day one. I love being a lawyer. And so when I was studying law, I thought to myself, okay, this is nice. I wonder what aspect of law I want to go into. I thought maybe I'll just come back and be teaching law so that I could do that alongside my baking business because I had a bakery business. I was a confectioner. But by the time I got to law school and took part in the moot competition, I knew that that was all I wanted to do. And so I decided to look for a job. Now, how did I come about looking for that job? I finished law school. I wanted to practice law, but I was enjoying the fact that I was earning money and my time was flexi. So again, my husband came into the picture. I said, oh, by the way, I want to go for the International Bar Association conference. And it was happening in Auckland in New Zealand. And he said, well, I'll pay for you to go, but you must find a job. Because this one that you're doing, you say you want to study law today, but you're still running the bakery. You can't do both. So you have to decide. And I knew that I knew that I couldn't do both because not the way I wanted to practice law. So I went, looked for a job, found a job, and that was how I shut down the bakery business and started practicing law. And then went into government. I spent 8 years in government, working first in the office of the Attorney General, and then in the governor's office for the next 8 years. And when I came out of government and went back into practice, it was really hard. So much had changed in that 8 years. And I got to a point where I almost wanted to give up about pursuing this desire to take silk. But something just kept on pushing me, and I was fortunate to have people around me who said, look, it'll be almost a crime if you don't pursue this. And I think, being tenacious and being humble enough to learn from people much younger than you. I'd been out of practice for 8 years. So I had people who had been called maybe 5 years post-call, 6 years post-call, who were younger than me, both in age and at the bar. But they knew much more than I did in terms of actual practice. But I told myself, this is the only way. If you know you want to get there, you just have to. And I did. And I thank God for it because here I am today doing what I love, and taking silk, becoming a senior advocate, is just now the beginning of another phase in life. I thank God now for people setting up groups like the Female Lawyers in Litigation, which, like I said, is the inspiration for the sisterhood, which is geared specifically towards people who would like to embark on this journey or who have started the journey and would just like a support group to help to rub ideas. So if you have any of your members who want to join Female Lawyers in Litigation, they can send you send you. It's just a resource group that helps people who have either left practice or studied law, didn't go into practice, and now they're thinking, how can I get into practice? I've left school 5, 6, 7 years ago. How do I get into practice? That group is perfect for people like that. It helps you ease back into practice. But we have so many people out there who would like to practice law, who would like to go to court, but they just don't know how to get back in. That group is a great help. The sisterhood too is a great help for people who are embarking on the journey to silk. So please tell your members.
Okay. Interesting. So thank you. Thank you for your time, your experience, your stories. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we have come to the end of our first Legal Her Story podcast. Thank you.